Welcome to round 2 from Drip Drop's games from the 2013 British Championships Major Open. So he now following that rather impressive draw in round 1, where he drew with someone who gave me a good pasting. He now has a very tough and complex game against Nathan Talbot, who does not actually have a FIDE, but he is 178 ECF and plays in long play opens near me all the time. And has got a brother who's over 119 in the main event as well. And I saw them a lot of the time, like sweating prep together and playing to each other and that, and that was very keen. And they're nice guys as well. And Drip Drop didn't have a good start to the day. As I said in the previous round, he was competing in the under 140 championship. And he lost to Serengeti Camp in round 2 in a very close game where he was getting pasted at one point and then she blundered the piece and he was nearly winning, and then he screwed the draw ending. I think he did anyway, but it was a close game anyway. So hopefully he can bounce back in this game in the Major Open. And he was white, and Drip Drop kicked off with one Nf3, the wetty opening. Nc6 was the response, and now we got transposition to the semi-Slav. Bf4 was played. This is a move. It's not the best move in my opinion. I think Ke2 is the strongest move. Although it is the most theoretical as well, because you have to know what you're doing against D takes C4 and H6, which are both very theoretical. And it can also lead to the KB springs, which is probably not a good idea to face if you're unprepared. Because the problem was that he probably didn't have any games on the database because it was like a 3-day game, so you didn't know what he was going to get. I think he plays French, he does, but I'm not sure he would have done against these lines. Another solid move is E3, but then again maybe after E3, after Bishop E7, play Queen C2, which is the anti-Moran variation, and avoids the Moran, which is very sharp, as you're going to see. So Bishop F4 was played, maybe with London system themes, or maybe after that, maybe put the bishop on D6 is better. But then again, it does swap off your good bishop, so maybe Bishop E7 is best. H3 to give the bishop a retreat square. Castles E3, knight BD7, bishop D3, and now black takes on C4 because the typical theme is you wait for white to move his bishop first. Because if you take on C4 straight away, then white gains the tempo, but now white's blundered the tempo. Well, lost the tempo with this. And now B5. And now usually black in these positions puts the bishop on B7 and plays A6 and C5 and opens the bishop up on diagonal. For example, bishop B7, castles, A6 first, and say something like Queen E2, C5. Drag you back in the centre, and if white doesn't take, black can push with C4 and gain a queenside pawn majority, which can be quite dangerous in an endgame. But B4 was played, which takes me out of my book because I've never seen this before. Knight E4, and now C5 was played. Knight comes into D6, but luckily the knight's not as strong as it looks because it can easily be attacked, but it has plenty of good squares still because after takes, knight takes, queen b6. White actually has a tough choice now, and I think Drip Drop made the correct one because you can also consider robbing black at the bishop pair and getting the bishop pair in quite an open position, but I think black gets enough counterplay because you got played down the c file and the bishop's not that strong. So I think he did correct by putting knight back on c4, and also after the queen moves, we played Queen F3, which hits at the A8 rook. Knight B3 is an alternative. But then again, Queen D5 will be played anyway, so I don't see the improvement. Maybe you can play E4 with tempo, but how much that benefits white, I'm not sure. Queen F3 was played, attacking the rook, and now Bishop A6 is probably stronger than what he played actually, because it develops a piece with tempo and guards the rook. So after Knight B3, then Queen D5. And this looks better than the game, this, because there's a piece developed, but after Queen D5, Knight c6 was quite a strong move in this position, because if the queen is taken straight away, then you can win the bishop for free. So he has to move the bishop and then take it, and then stick the bishop on d6, because white wants to swap the bishops off to reduce black's control over the dark squares, so black should not take the bishop. And then something like maybe this to connect the rooks could be interesting. But queen takes queen is fine, knight takes d5, then bishop d6, so Chop has the right strategical idea to swap dark square bishops off to enhance the power of his knights. Knight c5 was played. And now this is a very aesthetically pleasing position where the knights are arranged in a sort of box. It's a very sexy position, this. Bishop back to e2, not sure what that's about. Oh yeah, because the bishop's attacked, so in here, can't see one move threats, because I'm a complete patser. Bishop b7, get the bishop on the diagonal. Bishop f3 to neutralise the bishop. But now Chop has to watch out for knight d3 with check. Now the bishops came off, and then this bishop came out, enhancing his grip on the d3 square. Bishop e2 to reduce it, but of course this favours black this trade, because now the d3 square becomes even weaker now the light square bishops are off. So now black's starting to get the upper hand, but it's still about equal. Rook fd8, knight c4, so we've got this nice box again. But now you have to watch out for knight f4 check tactics, and in fact he does play it, but he plays it move after. He could have played it in this position, because of course if he takes, then that wins a pawn, because the f pawn is going to drop because there's a fork. And even if it didn't win a pawn, it's messed up white's pawn structure, and white has no gain in return. So white has to ignore it and protect the g2 point. And then the knight comes into d3 with temple, which is the point of knight f4 check. Now black starts to get the upper hand. He played these moves, came in first, then it got played. So king f3, knight fd3, so black's a bit better now. Rook c2, e5, another good move, which prepares to cement the knight in on the d3 square. Knight f5, check. Now king f8, just probably a waiting move, getting anything close to the centre, because in the end game you want your king in the centre. Rook d1, g6, which is actually a very bad move, because Chop's last move set up a threat which he didn't actually even carry out. You'll test for the you have to find a couple of moves that will win a pawn for white in this position. She'll test for the game. So pause the video. Now Chop put his knight back on d4, but he missed putting the knight on d6, which attacks the rook. Now if the rook goes somewhere, he has this move, because now rook d1 meant there's two pieces now on it. So if the knight on e4 is taken, then the knight on d3 falls, and black has actually dropped his very important knight and the pawn that guards it. So actually white's going to be pawned up with a good position. But knight d4 was played. So let him get away with it, king e7. And now this next move is, I don't like this next move at all, but I drop f4. Because when you think about it, look at this position. The only real way to try and get rid of black's octopus knight on d3 is to play f3 and chip away the e4 point, i.e. undermine it. So playing f4 just takes the option away, so it's a bit of a stupid move. I mean, then again after f3 black can play f5, but white's always got the option of trying to undermine it. Whereas after f4, it can never play that option. Now knight a4 was played, which is not the best move as well. Just sets up a one move threat, which is easily dealt with. Puts the knight in a very bad square. f5, g4, trying to chip away the f5 point. d5, centralising. Knight e5, and knight is now in a good square, and white has actually pulled this back. So f takes e5. The point now is if rook takes e5, then knight c6 check picks up the exchange, so he has to try this. And then Chop plays a good move, he throws his check in first. Trying to force the king back or win some pawns. So rook d7 has to be played, and then this check is the key. King moves back, and then rook c8 check. King up to f7, and then knight d4. Threatening a cheapo with e6 check, because Riviera said cheapo. The cheaper starts with Rook E7, knight back to C6, Rook D7, knight D4. So is it going to be a draw by repetition? Well, I actually have a feeling that if Drop's grade was about 500 points higher as EventDate was, then it probably would be redrawn at this point. But of course, he wants to try and win, or his EventDate is going to be very bad when it comes out. So he puts his king across and avoids repetition, which I think the repetition is actually a fair result. But life's unfair. E6. So this pawn does become weak now. Now this pawn's taken and this pawn's taken. And now Drop should have jettisoned I think the E6 pawn with this, because he does get this in return, and A7's weak as well. In fact, there's an immediate threat of Rook A7 check, so Black has to move his king. Then we attack it anyway for something like this, and in fact the pawn's going to drop, might drop anyway actually. B6, knight takes A6, knight D3. So Black has the better winning chances, but it's going to be hard to win this position. It's quite drawish potentially. Rook B8 was played instead, going for the B4 point. Knight D3 was played, which returns the knight to the outpost and hacks or defends the B4 point. King D2, not sure what this move does, because H6 is now played. Knight into C6. So Drop sees the correct idea, but it's in the wrong move order, because now the knight's come off, and King F6. And now Black's a pawn up with an active king, but again, Rook and pawn endings are very drawish. And he also has 3 pawn islands, well both sides have 3 pawn islands. Now Rook B5 was played. And the draw was offered at this point as well, which was obviously declined with Rook E5. Now this is the interesting point. And Nathan actually said this after the game to him. And I've been told this as well, what Nathan got told. When you are offered a king and pawn ending, you should only go into it if A, it is completely trivial, like it's obvious win or loss. Sorry, it's obvious win or obvious draw. Or B, if there is no better option. So you look at this position, picture in your mind, on you're a pawn down. If you take the rook, Black's king is going to be very active, and Black can easily create an outside pass pawn with H5. This will decoy your king away, and then Black will move in and take the E3 and A2 pawns, or just take the E3 pawn and queen that. So it's an obvious loss, this king and pawn ending. Have you got a better option? Well, Drop thought that after Rook G5 and takes G4, it was going to be 2 pawns down and lost. But yes, he does have a better option. Rook endings all about activity. Rook B7, attacking the A pawn. If it moves, then we have this check, forcing the king to make a decision. If it goes to G5, then the problem is the G4 pawn can never be taken, because G6 will go with check, so A4 will play. With H5, we can take. In fact, the king C3 is actually looking very drawish already, because White's king is going to get active. This is just a sample line. This is just a sample line to show that the ending is far from lost if the rooks are kept on, but this is just completely lost. Like, there's just nothing Black can do to stop the plan. If I use a different plan, actually, it's better than what which I said, just to move the king in round the back. And the game is soon finished. Which is a bit of a shame, because Drop played very well against a lot stronger opponent. And he can be proud of himself with this game, and he also missed some good chances. So a bit of a sad end, but another good game. And interestingly enough, he's playing as usual better against stronger players and against people around his level and weaker. Riviera in this position is giving now a forced checkmate in about 15 moves. I think it drops to 11 at the end. So if you can find the quickest way to mate in the comments, you can have a cookie. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this game, and stay tuned to see if Drop can bounce back in later rounds. See, now it's dropped to force mate in 13. So again, for your chance to win a cookie, say this fastest mate from this position for Black. And for now, please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.